phase 2 drill program and the associated activities in Choice, close at the company offices there at what we call Ranchito, where Ian Graham is located. Miguel Quintana will also be joining us from site, at least one of the sites, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a full understanding ourselves as well here in Vancouver, because much of the information we're going to see today is new to ourselves as well here. So we can start with the presentation, but I think before we do so, I mean, obviously, one of the big questions that everybody would have, and I think it's best to get this out of the way before we get to the actual presentation from Choice. I think anybody that follows us closely would have a question as to Richard Locke's resignation. The simple fact is, I've spoken to Richard. I think I've got a good idea of the reasons for his resignation. The fact is that Richard had asked me to look for a replacement last spring. We thought we'd found one at that time, but unfortunately that individual did not become available. And as it turned out, Richard elected to continue as CEO. This year, he has, I think, different reasons for why he chose the timing of his resignation. Given the fact that Richard is given us 4 years of his time, as opposed to the 2 years that he and I had originally discussed as being essentially his mandate, I'm not surprised to see his tenure come to an end. I think we're all we all feel as if Oroco would be better without him, or with him. I'm sorry, with him, but we'll find ways to survive without him. He of course provides some very strong technical expertise. We think we know how to best replace that. The simple fact is he'll be missed, but I'm sure we'll find ways to deal with his absence. In the meantime, we've already initiated our search for a replacement CEO. As a matter of fact, I think immediately following our news release, a potential candidate surfaced that was a bit of a surprise, but nonetheless, it obviously it made us aware that eyes are on us, and I think people in the industry do appreciate the significance of the opportunity associated with the development of Santo Tomas. So with that stated, I'd like now to go to Ian, and he can present the progress report from site. If anybody has any further questions regarding the Richard situation or other circumstances around the project's advancement, hopefully we can keep those to the end of this initial presentation. So, live from Choice.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, good day, everybody. Yeah, it's fantastic to be able to host part of the town hall down here at the project site, where things are abuzz for the first time in a while. And what we've done, we've assembled a few of the site personnel, and they're going to help me describe what we're doing, what we're planning. We're going to have a look at some of the rocks from the initial new drill holes at South Zone and give you a sense of planning. We're also going to take a short moment to just take a look at some of the work that's being done at Vineer, the exploration project south of Santo Tomas. And in doing this, you're going to meet some of the site personalities. And then Miguel will take us on a very short tour around Ranchito here to look at some of the other activities that are going on here at Ranchito. So we'll just walk through it. We haven't done it in this style before, so please bear with us. And hopefully you can get to meet some of the people, get a sense for the plans ahead of us, and ask some questions direct to some of the technical personalities. So I'm going to ask Andrew Ware just briefly to just join me on screen here. He's just adjacent, and just very briefly verbally walk you through the planning for site. So take it away, Andrew.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Craig, Mike, Ian.
Hiya.
Phase 2 drilling commenced. We had one rig drilling and one rig setting up up top at the south zone. Obviously, the plan for the program is to lift our inferred resources into indicated in front of the PFS that we will be kicking off here once we get all the data in place. Drill holes are started on the south zone. It's a combination of resource and geotechnical. When we can, we're trying to combine geotechnical with resource, save meters. We're looking at a plan of anywhere between 18 and 20,000 odd meters. And we're already saving meters on some holes that we projected to go through the pit wall into waste. And there's no point in drilling additional waste after we do that. So we're saving some meters. As a geologist, I'm using those meters in other places, but yeah, we have a target meterage that we have to hit, and that's got to be within budget. So that's where we are right now.
Excellent. And Andrew, just given that we're going to focus on South Zone and get that sort of tied up, there'll be a little bit of geotech and hydrological at North Zone, but we want to get the South Zone resource converted, right?
And typically what will happen is we'll get as much of that as we can converted. You'll always find a hole or two in that new resource classification. So we're moving south to north. So what we'll do halfway through the program is probably get all the assay work done for the south zone and ship that off to our consultants, who will run just a quick review of that and see where we are in terms of conversion. If we need to go back and put another hole or two in it, we'll do that. But also on the north zone, there's a thin rind of inferred on the east side of the pit that we need to convert into indicated. There's 4 very short holes up there as well. And at the same time, we have a hydrogeological program that's going to focus on the north pit wall. Absolutely required. We need to be able to calculate pit inflow, if any, and also pit stability next to the river there. I don't think there's any issue there, but obviously data that consultants will need to be able to confirm and sign off on. Aside from that, I think we've pretty much got it covered this year with this program.
Yeah, the activity around site and here at Ranchito has been fantastic for me to come and witness. Everybody's in their routine, in the groove, back logging core, we're cutting core. We're doing some work in the flow sheet for geotechnical that we haven't previously done. And I might ask Andrew just very briefly to sort of encapsulate what we're trying to achieve with that geotechnical work.
So this is a bit of a spin-off from some of the work that Whittle Consulting did for us. They took the point load test data, did essentially a conversion into what's called bond work index or grindability of the material, comminution data. So we're taking that a step further. So we're going back and doing half core PLT, and we're also introducing a new program using the equipment from a company called GeoPorter. And that actually gives us in the field real-time data on bond work index and other comminution factors that typically you used to have to send very large samples off to laboratories quite far away and get that work done. That doesn't mean that we don't have to do that work, but this is going to be able to allow us to create a block model variable on comminution. And what that does, it reduces the risk of the project, because you absolutely know going forward what your throughput will be tied to a certain mine plan. That's a great benefit, and it's also probably an MPV boost as well. I think we just previously overstated our bond work index at 18.4. We think there's probably maybe a 10%, 15% gain to be had on that. Dropping it means more throughput, or if you want to save energy, it's an energy saver. If you want to reduce plant size, you can do capital reduction. Blast hole power loading, everything runs through that. So there's some real opportunities that we're going to pull out of that data.
So I think some of this innovation that was set up in a sense by some of the results from Whittle, some of this work is being done on operating mine sites. It's new. As far as we know, we're the first exploration mine site to be implementing this GeoPura geotechnical spreadsheet and be able to bring these metallurgical grindability data into the block model, which we anticipate will help us improve that PFS mine plan and recover some of the parameters Andrew referenced. For example, energy on grinding, perhaps throughput, and a variety of these variables that will be added into the PFS mine plan. So that's something the crew here at site is really quite excited about, and the energy around the semi-core PLT data collection and all the rest of it that I've seen just in the couple of days I've been here is really good. So that's an innovation, a bit of a frontier, and something we're really keen to share with those of you on the call this morning. So that's great. Andrew, anything else that you think at this kickoff stage in phase 2 you shareholders may want to hear about?
I think the drilling broadly reflects what we already had in the block model, which is always a good thing. We had a couple of pretty decent looking holes. So I'm not going to comment too much on it though, but it supports previous drilling. Miguel and Fidel obviously taking that into account, possibly tweaking a few drill holes to make sure we can drill the best grade and in a representative way to support the new block model that comes up with PFS.
Excellent. A couple of other things on site, and Oscar, can you go to the next slide, please? And so just these are slightly mundane site items, but we are relocating the camp that we had at the Brasile zone north of the river to our location here at Ranchito. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And on the left, you're looking at the new assembly of the camp up above the location at our core storage facility, which you see in the background. Andrew, maybe you can just sort of point out the core store up there if you...
The Wheel of Fortune.
The Wheel of Fortune, that's it. And then just to show you as well, we're taking down the camp at Brasile's, and Oscar, maybe you can just run the video on the right there. So you're just seeing that camp being taken down, the material bedding, the air conditioners, all of the equipment that we have there. You see the remnant toilet facilities, etc. So we're taking that camp down as carefully as we can, and we're relocating it to Ranchito, and we will be basing much of our project crew here at the core site in the next couple of months. So we're looking forward to getting that done, and just wanted to share that with everybody. Oscar, the next. Another view of Ranchito. So on the right side, the core logging facility and the core storage. And again, just the erection of the new camp that is proceeding just up above the core storage facility. And just a couple of shots I took yesterday of the crew back logging core and planning, and what you see in the middle image is Oscar working on the Leapfrog project at Vinea, which we will shortly share and have Fidel run through with you. That was a shot this morning of everybody just assembling on a Tuesday morning at 6:30, preparing for the day in the field. All right, Miguel, can we... So everybody, I'm going to Miguel. Yeah. So many of you know who Miguel is. You've met him in other settings, but Miguel, maybe you can start to follow on from what Andrew said, and then show some pictures, etc., from the core.
Yeah, thank you very much. As Andrew mentioned, so we're getting ready for all the drilling program that we have planned months ago. So now here showing all the plan that Andrew mentioned, especially in the south zone. So the image basically show the program that we have to convert from inferred in this area to indicated, especially because we don't have enough holes over here, right? As you know, Andrew mentioned that we need to drill and to cover the main areas that we know that there are some mineralization, especially the description that we have on surface. Okay, so we were basically have done this program based on all the drill that we have done in phase 2, in phase 1, the geophysical data, and also the geochem, lithology, structural geology that all the team have been done during the last 3-4 years, right? And then here we have a section that we have done based on all the description that we have done in the first hole, and also trying to reconnect and reconcile all the lithology structures, the geology information that we have so far. And then just a couple of pictures of the main core that we have hit in the couple of first holes. So basically, we have the chalcopyrite, that is the main mineral that we have in the project, and also along with copper, along with molybdenite and also quartz. So this is the first holes. So basically, the description that we have is pretty similar from the holes that we have drilled in phase 1. So we confirm that we still have the mineralization just in the visual way, right? We have to wait for the chemistry results. So we'll see how it goes in the following month.
Yeah. Do you want to just go back, Oscar, if you would, please? Do you want to just point out some of the minerals? Miguel?
Yeah, for example, here we have veins with chalcopyrite and pyrite. Mostly they are along with magnetite, and sometimes basically we have quartz with molybdenite. That this is the main areas that we got the higher grades in terms of copper, and also along with molybdenum. So sometimes we got also tourmaline, that is the black dot over here, and is also along with chalcopyrite and quartz. And sometimes also we got, especially in South Zone, and this is a surprise for us, and we are trying to understand what is the engine for molybdenite. So we have sometimes anhydral molybdenite that it tells you the crystallinity of that mineral. So we are trying to see what is the route, the pathway that comes from. So we'll see how it goes with the following holes, especially in southwest holes. So as well as also the veins with moly, big veins is not very common in porphyry copper. So we will see, we will take a deep look in this kind of type of mineralization that we have got so far.
Right. So this drilling is close to hole 18, S18 at the South Zone.
Yes.
And we're seeing some of what we saw in 18, but we're getting more detail, more of a clear understanding of what is causing mineralization, particularly the moly down at South Zone.
Yes, that's correct. We are trying to follow first the resource that we think that is expressed in the surface. So those first holes are very close to, so it's already in the path S18, and also we have found with the team all the same feature of mineralization. So that's why we decided to start in that area, especially in southwest area, right?
Excellent, thank you. So I guess in summary, we're getting what we expected, but we're learning new things, seeing textures and mineralization that we didn't fully understand from SAT.
Absolutely, yes, and we confirm the thing that we saw on surface. So because at the beginning we didn't expect to get so much visible crystal molybdenite on the core that is not common, especially in North Zone. So we'll see how it goes in the following holes next to the hole S18. That is one of the best holes that we have got in South Zone.
Excellent, thank you. So you're excited?
I am excited. I'm excited. Next following holes. Yes.
Very good. Okay, so maybe I can give you a shout, Fidel, and can you cue up the leapfrog, please, Oscar? So what we're going to look to do now, everybody, and again, just very briefly, we're going to just give you a snapshot of the early work that we're conducting at Vinea, the exploration project. So, Oscar, have you got that? Can you bring up your leapfrog, please? Yeah. And then we're going to put Fidel in front of the screen and let him tell you a little bit about the field work he's been doing up at Vinea. So I'll just very briefly remind everybody we have an option on an exploration project south of Santo Tomas. There's some evidence of porphyry down in that area, but there's widespread evidence of multiple mineralization styles that would more commonly be proximal to or associated with big intrusive systems like a porphyry. So we've taken that option and we've just begun to assemble very basic early exploration data on that. Now, Fidel, can you join us up here? And so, but Fidel Gomez has been leading the fieldwork effort. This is Fidel. And Fidel, just begin perhaps just to walk through how you've started to collect data on the project, map the geology, and just describe the steps that you've taken to sort of get us to this point.
Yeah, sure. Just to mention, I know maybe some of you don't know the location of Vinea. Vinea is a concession recently acquired by Oroco at the end of 2025. And just to show you the location of Vinea, we have Santo Tomas in this area. This is the western side of Mexico, Santo Tomas. And to the south of Santo Tomas, zoom in, Oscar, please. We have here the location of Vinea. So there is some records of historical geological jobs done in Vinea. And we already started a field mapping campaign in Vinea. So I want to show you some in a little here. So we have put the structural data and the field stations. So this is the concession of Vinea,
the one in yellow.
The yellow polygon. Yeah, and we have already walked that area. Those are structural data that we collected, and I want to show you these dots. Those are places where we sampled.
Yeah. And so, what's that topographic image? How is that collected?
This topographic image is one that we got recently. We did a drone flight to get the LiDAR topography. Right. And it's really cool because it is 1 meter of resolution. And we have also 6 centimeters of resolution. It's really, really useful. And we can use this model to get a lot of information from that area because the resolution is too high. And we have the plan to get also drone magnetics for that area because in the data of the Mexican Geological Survey, we have some high anomalies of magnetics here in this area and also here. I want to mention we have 3 prospects in Vinea. That is El Plátano. It's a breccia pipe in this area. We have an open pit here that has been worked in the past. That is Masomique. And there is another prospect here that is Cristina. And also there is one place here that is called Conijaqui. So there is a lot of potential in this area.
And what was mined at Masomique?
In Masomique, it is mined an skarn of magnetite chalcopyrite. In El Plátano, mineralization that we have recognized is copper, mainly in chalcopyrite, but there is anomalies also of silver, gold, iron. In Christina, some of the historical samples that some people have made, we have silver, zinc, and lead.
Right. So there's quite a variety of mineralization styles.
Yeah.
All of which have been driven by some sort of heat engine, right?
For
some
sure.
sort of intrusive activity.
For sure.
And so, we've got these showings and the mine at Mazamica that show that this has been geologically active as a mineralization site.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, sure. And also, that's the important thing of getting the map, because we can see deeper information of some bodies that we could have in depth, and that will help us a lot.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to acquire drone magnetics to complement the drone LiDAR and to help guide our activities in the field.
Yes, I guess that will happen in this month.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's news to me too, everybody. So that's good. Anything else that you're able to sort of rotate a little bit the leapfrog and just so we're gonna just jump into a little bit more on Oscar can. Here we go. So we've pulled the project into a 3D environment in Leapfrog, and Fidel can give you a little bit more of what he's hoping to use this for, and sort of the priorities he intends to use to drive the project.
Yeah, sure. Can you activate the geological mapping, please?
I'm in the way.
So we already have a preliminary geological mapping from the area interpreted, and also with the data that we have collected. So yeah, that's it. So we have a lot of structural data from that also. So this is the main intrusive. We have some smaller intrusions of monsonites. Here in this section, we have El Plátano. There is the location of the skarn. We have Christina here, and there are some other breccias in this area that we sampled, and here it is Mazamica. So we could have a lot of potential also for deeper mineralization in this area, below these rocks that are above the intrusions.
Excellent. And so you've done some sampling, and that will shortly be provided to a laboratory. Is that, are we on track to do that? And so we'll hopefully get some results on variable mineralization in a month or so. Is that realistic?
Yeah, actually, we already sent the samples to the lab, so we are hoping to get the results.
Fantastic. Okay, so I hope that was a snapshot for everybody of the exploration that we're doing. Mike, we sent Miguel out while that conversation was going on, and hopefully he's available on his phone now to tour us around a little bit. Are you there, Miguel? You're muted, Miguel. I have to say, everybody, we haven't tried it this way before, so I did have a roll of duct tape with me to fix whatever we might need to fix as we go. Hey, Miguel, we saw your video briefly. In the meanwhile, for me, being at site and catching up with Fidel and Andrew and Miguel on the work that they have been doing at Vainilla was quite exciting. Obviously, our focus is Santo Tomas. That's where the time and focus resources for everybody goes. But the guys have managed to find periods to get in the field to utilize our drone resources. We acquired a new drone at the beginning of phase 2 to get some equipment, for example, the LiDAR, and deploy that. and we'll be collecting drone mag at Vainilla. So we're moving forward whilst making sure the focus is on drilling at Santo Tomas South Zone. So I'm hoping we seem to have
Ian,
lost Miguel.
can we
So
take some questions
the tour
while
minute.
you're waiting?
That's a good idea. Why
Yeah.
don't we do that while Miguel? Why don't we take a question, and then that will give Miguel take a little pressure.
Can
off
he
there.
see them? Can you see the questions, Ian?
I cannot.
Okay.
No.
I'll read the question out for you. First one: how many holes have been completed at in drilling for phase 2, and how many holes are expected in order to finish phase 2 drilling?
So we've completed 2. We're drilling the 3rd hole in phase 2. I've just been corrected. We just completed hole 3. So we're on hole 4. The current number of holes is quite high. It's for all programs. It's currently a number a little above 50 holes. Some are quite short though. For example, those short holes Andrew mentioned in North Zone. But that number will flex. As Andrew said, there'll be a review of how much of the resource we've converted effectively, as the drilling progresses, sort of sometime after midway through the program. And we expect there'll be a few holes added. So the number is high, but the aggregate length of holes in phase 2 is lower than in phase 1, where the focus was North Zone. Does that sort of get it?
Yes.
That's great.
At a
And
high
it
level?
looks like Miguel has got set up there.
Yeah. All right, Miguel. Do you want to unmute and tell us
Yes,
what
sir.
you're up
Sorry
to?
for the signal connection. So now we have got the team that is doing the PLT, the point load test. That's carried out with a rock test. So equipment on HQ core sample. The sample is placed between two points, and pressure is applied until it breaks. So we record the maximum load and sample to calculate the strength index.
Excellent. I'll just voice over that because it looks like we're having some signal issues down at the core storage. That's the point load testing Andrew mentioned earlier on the semi-core to infill the historical point load data. Are you back, Miguel?
Barely.
Okay. Miguel, we're struggling to hear you, but that gives us a sense of what folks are busy with down at the core storage. Miguel, if you can hear me, maybe head back up. Oh, we've lost him. Any rate, he'll probably connect again from where we're cutting core for sampling and show us one or two things if he reconnects. Maybe we should take another question or two.
Go back to the questions.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian, here's another one for you. How big is Vainilla in square kilometers compared to Santo Tomas?
I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's probably about
74 hectares.
2,974 hectares, just informed by Fidel. And the Santo Tomas concessions have quite a large area off to the east that we're downsizing. But the coverage of the core mineralization is very similar to the core concessions at Santo Tomas in area. There are some concession maps on the deck online that will give you a comparative sense of the claim coverage at Santo Tomas and Vainilla.
To the timeline on the environmental studies.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have Andrew and Fidel and Oscar in the room with me to correct those numbers.
So, Ian, what is the timeline for the environmental studies?
Excellent question. So we have hired the principal consultant to oversee all the environment and integrated environment community work. And that work has commenced. desktop now, and we'll have people in the field in a week, starting the baseline surveys, and that will run for a year. It will take until the end of March next year to complete those baselines. Andrew's still here. Andrew, have I missed anything in that answer?
No, I mean,
yeah, Andrew's going to join me because he is directly interfacing with the prime consultant on the environment initiative.
yeah, so the work that we're undertaking right now is basically broken down into 4 seasons, and we need to get baseline data on water quality, flora and fauna, and specifically going back to our PEA infrastructure design. So we'll have the pit, waste rock pile and tailings facility. They're directly impacted areas, so we need some very detailed studies done on those as well. But it also includes baseline weather data, baseline water flow in the Rio Fuerte, baseline water flow in Boca del Arroyo and other drainages. And on a much bigger area, we're pulling in a lot of community information as well. We've already done the mapping on that, but now we're just formalizing it, placing it into a system called Links, and that should be up and running within 2 weeks. So that's actually a big piece of work that's being done, and that forms a very large part of any permit evaluation by the Mexican government. Our principal consultant for SEMA suggested that's probably on a scorecard, it's worth 40% of how they evaluate your permit. So we're ahead of the curve on that one.
Thanks.
Now, Andrew, are there any concerns or primary concerns?
No, I don't think there are. I mean, Ian, with his long history here, can certainly attest to the fact that we have excellent community relations. In fact, over my 40 years of work in this industry, I would have to say this is one of the best places to work, just because of the support and interaction we have with the community for the project. And that's got a lot to do with the long mining history at Choice.
Yeah, and I think on concerns, there was an environmental baseline study done several years ago for a bridge project across the Rio Fuerte, just some kilometers west of us, and there were no threatened or endangered species of significance identified in that study. And it would be unlikely that we have a fundamentally different biozone or fauna flora mix than was present on that study. So we don't foresee any large challenges arising from the environmental baseline, but obviously the work has to be done. So we're commencing that.
And keep in mind that this wouldn't be the first mining operation on this particular drainage. El Salzal, further up the river, was mined, completed, and reclaimed very successfully. So
yeah,
we have history here.
Yeah. The industry is reputationally quite strong, and thanks to prior operators who did a very good job, and certainly that legacy remains for us. I do see that we've got Miguel back, albeit he's still down at the core shack. So no, he's up here. Sorry, I misspoke. Miguel, do you want to come back in?
Sure. Here we have the core shack. We have the team here, so they are trying to do the training for the geotech, leading by our SRK team. So now we got a few days here in the core shack. Also, we will have training in the field. So trying to get in the right way, all the procedure that we have to do it. And also here we have the core. So as you see, we are trying to collect all the information as much as we can and trying to put it into the model, right? And get to the cutting and sampling area where we expect to send, for example, the samples that we have got early next week, most likely. And here we have all the bags ready to ship to the lab.
Excellent. So those are the samples waiting to go to the laboratory for assay.
Yes, that's correct. And we are ready.
They're
ready to see.
stored in a cage area. Miguel, can you describe the controls
Yes.
that we maintain on
Yes.
the cage?
Sure. There is only one person in charge of this cage, so he or she he is available all the time, 24/7, and he's the only one that has a key. So it is highly secure. No one else can access to that cage without permission or previous authorization, and that guy should be inside with him or her to receive the samples from the cutting and sampling area. So it's very well controlled, and we have to sign before we get into the cage.
Right. It's a chain of custody process of the assay samples. Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Excellent. And Miguel, are you able to maintain a signal? Maybe not. Into the core cutting zone.
Yes. Yes. We'll see quickly the cutting area. So they are trying to put all these boxes into the cutting and sampling a small room. So we have got a really good machine for doing that work. So the people is getting ready over here. All the boxes are ready to cut. So the bag with the label and the ticket, every single sample very well assigned. So here's the machine that we are doing the cutting of each sample and controlled by a list that the geologists provide to them. So they are getting ready. Yeah, that's what we get.
Thank you. Okay, that's great, Miguel. Thanks very much.
Yep, welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can, that's sort of the top for now, and yeah, maybe we can return to questions, and I can solicit any answers site related that folks may want to answer with us.
Okay, so here's a question. Following the 23 million January financing, what is the current cash position and quarterly burn rate? Does the company anticipate needing additional financing before PFS completion?
Ian, I'll start with that, and then I'm going to flip the answer, the balance of the answer over to you from a budget perspective. But I'll start by first off, the $23 million number is a little bit deceptive. The costs of completing the financing, all in with the corporate finance costs, the legal, etc., the auditing, it's all that which went into essentially finalizing the financing was $2 million. So we essentially started with 21 million. At that point in time, I think we had close to 2 million Canadian in obligations that were either in arrears or pending, which took us then to 19. I think we currently sit at about 17, a little over 17 million Canadian. As far as the ongoing budgeting is concerned, the great majority of the funds available are being applied to operations on site, and Ian is best to give you a more specific picture as to how those funds are being expended and at what rate. Ian? Ian?
Here, sorry about.
The question was how the funds are being essentially expended in terms of the rate. I'll go even further if you're unable to continue, Ian.
I caught the last part, and so yeah, the rate of spend is obviously increasing a little as we put a second drill on. I didn't hear all the rest of the answer, but I think it was a burn rate question. We need the drilling progress rates to settle down before we know the exact burn. But we're funded the drilling that Andrew referenced.
Okay, so you're having trouble communicating. I know that the current budget as it exists today covers all of the activity on site through to the early stages of November. Am I correct in saying that? We've lost Ian completely. I think I am correct in saying that. In order to complete the PFS, which that would not do, we anticipate the need to raise at some point in time along the way a cumulative 15 million Canadian to complete the overall PFS process. However, the funds that are on hand will, and I think Richard Locke has made this clear in one of his prior comments, should be sufficient to at least finish the associated field work.
And so it also looks like we have post a question in the Q&A. If you could please repost that if it has not been answered yet. Apologize about that. Was the Vinea option exercised? If not, when do you plan to exercise it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have the exact timing on the option. As far as I know, it's fully in place. We're continuing to pursue the acquisition. There's nothing that's arisen that would suggest otherwise.
When can we expect the first results from the lab?
Ian, can you participate?
Yeah, I heard the first part of the question, I think, was first results.
When can we expect the first
I think they're
results?
about a month to 5 weeks out. We're about to ship the first set of samples next week, I believe Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Regarding geotechnical work, are there any early indications from that work that could meaningfully influence mine design or capital intensity?
No, we don't have any geotech in general, though. We're very incentivized to do the work that Andrew described, the Geopiora. The Whittle study suggested that about 70% of South Zone and perhaps almost as much of North Zone is softer, and I that's a sort of air quote, softer, more readily processed rock than we had in the PEA model. And what that means is we'll use a little less energy on quite a bit of the resource and perhaps process it a little more quickly, which will have impacts on the economics of the existing plan, but will also offer us the opportunity to replan in the PFS to perhaps target some of those more readily processed areas earlier in the mine life. So that was the reference to the NPV metric that Andrew made, the opportunity to improve the overall exploitation economics is quite significant in our view. But no, we haven't done enough work yet to fundamentally sort of repopulate the block model. That will be something that only happens late in the year once we've collected substantially more geotechnical data.
Ian, I've got a question that isn't up here, but I think it's one that should be at least addressed or answered. When we wound ourselves down from the previous field work, essentially all that led to the preliminary economic assessment on the project, we of course let a number of staff go, and we scaled back our activities in all areas essentially. You and Andrew have subsequently, throughout the later stages of last year, started to work to reconstitute a technical team.
Correct.
You've now put together a technical team, and what is your assessment of the quality of that team? Do we first of all, do we have everybody that we need now? And
we do.
And
we do. And the key personnel, a great question, Craig, thanks. And the key personnel from phase one are all back here, and they've sort of filled the key roles. And personal assessment, I'm absolutely thrilled with the team that's here, and with the energy and the focus that they have in going after the program for phase two. Folks have just met Miguel and Fidel. Andrew is still here. Would you join me just for a minute and maybe just, give your thoughts on the team?
Still here. I'm still here.
Yeah.
The good news is that what Ian was referring to represents continuity in the project. So we have Miguel and Fidel, Oscar, Lisbeth, Salvador. These are key people that know how the systems ran before. We're implementing exactly the same systems right now, bringing in some new people. So we expect the quality of data, which was excellent, to continue to be excellent. And no variations, no changes. We're explicitly avoiding introducing changes to the logging methodology, to the geology. There's no changes to the assay methodology. It's all the same. So it'll just be a continuum.
Continuously.
A continuum of all the work that was done previously going forward.
And the expertise is high, Craig. Everybody is more capable with technology and the internet and all the rest of it than I have demonstrated myself to be today. It's a fantastic team. We're extremely fortunate and, quite frankly, blessed with the personnel we have.
We're introducing some cutting edge stuff here. In reality, we're first to be second with the GeoPura, but the guys are really keen on this, and they see the value of that data, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. One team, one dream.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so the next question is, how confident are you that a PFS will be enough to market the project? I think that everybody that has provided comment in that respect previously has said that should be an essential standard that we needed to meet in order to sell the project. Obviously, what came from that is an expectation that would make the project marketable. Ian, I'm sure you have your opinion on this, but I don't know that there is such thing as a thing in this circumstance as absolute certainty. But all the indications are from our feedback we've received is that that would put us in a position to market the project, most certainly.
I think that's correct, Craig. Most important for Santo Tomas is we do need to convert the inferred resources into indicated.
Exactly.
And so despite the study, the PFS itself, it will be the resource work and the increased confidence in that resource. And I think, embedding more data into our block model, this metallurgical processing data, is going to provide a far richer base for a party to assess Santo Tomas on than we had in the PEA, because quite simply, almost half our resource was inferred.
Good, thank you.
Please talk about the Cactus sale to Hud Bay and as it pertains to Santo Tomas and the overall appetite for acquisitors.
Well, that was an amazing transaction, I think, for us. We have done a sort of metrics comparison between that project and our own. Clearly, they're an oxide project in Arizona. They have a 22 years of operation, but will essentially make significant copper for 16 years. We make more copper over 22 years, and quite a number of our operating parameters are competitive, but we differ. We will be a concentrate producer, not a cathode copper maker, as they will. But that transaction, which in round figures is a $1.4 billion transaction on a project that has broadly similar metrics to our own, when we use the same copper price, $4.25, as was used for the Cactus PFS. When we apply that to our PEA cash flow, we get very comparable metrics for Santo Tomas. We have prepared a sort of, I guess, an apples to apples comparison to the degree you can do that. And I think Craig will probably look to put something together in a slide that can be shared publicly. I don't want to put a timeline on that, but it'll be 2 or 3 weeks, I would think.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Regarding the CEO, how are you thinking about the profile of the next CEO, given where Santo Tomas is in its development, particularly in balancing technical execution, permitting, and overall strategic direction? We have not had an internal discussion of this subject in any detail. I can tell you what my preference is. I think Richard has made it quite clear that we have a high level of technical competency in place. We're well on track to completing the PFS process. My personal recommendation to the board would be that the next CEO have more of a corporate finance background, specifically somebody that is willing to become the formal face of the company with respect to marketing and essentially identifying the pathway for the company. That was one of the areas that Richard never seemed to be very comfortable in, and I understand that because he's got a very, very strong technical mind. The fact is, though, that I think our shareholders have always looked for more from that role. That of course would be part of what would answer the question that's being posed here in terms of the profile of the next CEO. I mean, obviously, that individual would have to be as well very conversant with transactions such as has been described here by Ian with respect to a potential acquisitor and how best to represent the interests of the shareholders in those negotiations. So, again, it's not something that we have spent any time on corporately. I can only try and answer that question from my own personal perspective.
Next question, will both projects, Santo Tomas and Vainilla, be combined?
Specifically, no. There is no plan to combine them at this point. We're campaigning Vainilla as an exploration project to see what is there. Santo Tomas is a resource and development project, an advanced exploration situation. And that will, as we repeat, always be the focus.
Okay. As the project advances through PFS and the environmental baseline work, how are you thinking about engaging potential strategic partners or stakeholders, and at what stage that becomes a focus? Do you see future financing as purely market-based, or is there potential for strategic partnership alongside that process?
Well, I think it's candidly, from my perspective, it's an all of the above,
All of the above.
yeah, all of the above.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. There's been a bit of M&A go on, as the prior question suggested. There was the Sol Gold acquisition in December. The acquisition at Cactus of Arizona Sonoran. So we're in an environment where I think developers are looking for resources, and what we need to do is make sure that the clarity of our opportunity and the resource at Santo Tomas is ready to be properly presented by doing the best technical work possible to underpin the valuation by any outside party of the Santo Tomas opportunity.
Right. As drilling continues, is there a plan to get updates to investors at any regular intervals, or just updates during town halls regarding results? Is there a planned next town hall estimated date?
Perhaps I can start the answer to that. Drilling results will always first be news released. That way it is available to all shareholders at the same time, not just those who could attend a town hall. But I'm pretty sure we'll follow, with the town hall at some reasonable interval following a news release with results.
Any changes to social media strategy plans over the next several months, or any particularly exciting upcoming events to highlight? So for the social media strategy plans, I don't think it's changed much, other than we're continuing to push forward. We've put together an incredible team at Oroco here, including Christy Fabros, Daniel Bassett, and Jeremy Martin. And we're just continuing to push forward on our content and trying to see what we can do with the strategy. We've done so far this year 3 pretty good interviews Ian conducted with people like Robertson, Goldfinger Capital, Jesse Day at Commodity Culture, and the Jay Martin Show. Pretty well known profiles, and we're just getting in front of new audiences and new eyeballs with a very high interest in this space. We've got about 9 or 10 conferences that we're going to be attending this year, and that's what we've booked so far. A couple road shows and the rest conferences. So we're going to be out on the road. We're going to be talking to people. We're going to be promoting Oroco and Santo Tomas. We are in the process of developing a platform that will link the Vancouver office directly with site on a content perspective. So we'll be getting near real time content from the activities going on in site that we'll be able to put out on all of our social media platforms. And other than that, I think we're just pushing forward.
Agreed. I think it's fair to say, Mike, that content that will come from site via this little digital asset management platform will give you the content, as you say, near real time, well archived, and folks will have the ability to deliver content from their smartphones. Being active down here again and just it's exciting, and we want to share that as far as possible with those who follow our progress. So we'll get that up and running as quickly as we can. Couple of weeks, I think, and it'll be in place and providing data to your team to share with the world.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And I should actually add to that, we're in the process of formulating an events and conferences page on the website. So all of the activities, all the conferences, all the towns, cities that we're going to be in over 2026 will be on the website. There will be details about all of it. And we're trying to work out something where you'll be able to request a meeting if that's possible at all. So we're going to be active, and we're going to be available to talk to people. Some news on the share price. Do you have an idea who is selling the stock down?
Well, I think, obviously there were some unfortunate events that followed the timing of the financing that was recently completed with Canaccord. I think as well the share price spiked to somewhere in the low 90s, which was obviously an invitation for it to back off quite rapidly. The bottom line is the incident that occurred with respect to the 10 kidnappings, or the kidnappings that occurred in central Sinaloa, would have had an effect on our market, as well as of course, minor incidents like the war that broke out in essentially in Eastern, in the Middle East. So, obviously there's been a lot of factors that have caused our market to back off. I think that realistically, there's a lot of reason why our market should recover price wise. I don't like to be overly promotional, but I think we're in a situation where we can progress through the process of resolution of a number of the elements of uncertainty that remain with the project, and that will happen through the next number of months. As Ian has mentioned, one of them, converting much of the type of resource that we have from indicated to from inferred to indicated, and that's the sort of thing that will start to tighten up the general certainty as to the direction and the quality of the project, that will start to eliminate the uncertainties that people believe exist with respect to this project. I also think that our shareholders will, and the investment community in general, will come to understand that we're not really in an area of Sinaloa that attracts the kind of adverse activities that I think have affected other projects. We have a very quiet community setting. We're well supported in the area, and I just don't see us being influenced in such a negative manner as other projects have been of late. So, from my perspective, I think there's lots of reason, as certainty becomes more and more of essentially a contributing factor here, that our market will start to respond accordingly. Ian, you may want to add to that.
Distinctly different from a security perspective than the south and central part of the state currently. I think we're well integrated into the community, and the community is fundamentally way less beset by the challenges of communities, 300-400 kilometers from here.
So Oroco holds the option to increase ownership to 90% on Santo Tomas after a certain amount of money has been spent. Has this been completed?
Yeah, the dollar expenditure requirement has been met. We just haven't completed the documentation to acknowledge that internally.
Is the plan to bring Santo Tomas to market in roughly Q3 2027? Is there anything that would substantially delay these efforts?
Ian?
I think broadly that is the plan. Bang on. Is there anything that would substantially delay these efforts? Nothing that's on our radar screen currently. And the focus is to knuckle down and get the work done. There's nothing that we foresee that should prevent that. So the key is, just focus and get the work done.
Just a comment. Thank you all for the information and doing these town halls. It's great hearing from you all, especially from those on the ground. Keep up the hard work.
Do you hear that, guys? Yeah. Lots of thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard work. It's hot and dusty out there, but at any rate, the crew love it, and they're feeling a little confined being in here and not able to be out there. So at any rate, it's all good. So it's appreciated, guys, right? Yeah.
That's all the questions.
So we seem to have exhausted the interest of our attendees.
I would just say thanks everybody for indulging our perhaps slightly unconventional approach down here at site. But I'm pleased you've met some of the people and been able to get a sense for their enthusiasm and the focus they have for the work. So yeah, thanks for attending and thanks for the questions.
Oh, one more came through. Do you think you'll attract more institutional investors' interest soon?
I believe we will.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very understandable response in the sense that as the certainty with respect to the project is advanced, particularly as we convert the categorization of a substantial portion of the ore, that which certainly resides in the south zone, um, that in itself will substantiate the value of the project. Mr. Graham?
I agree.
Mr.
Yep. No, I think that's exactly right. You know, resource risk is reduced, and I think that makes the entire story more attractive for institutional investors.
Yeah.
There's a number of thank yous for the town hall.
Especially liked the unscripted live tie-in from São Tomás.
Yeah, I think that we did
thank
pretty
you.
well. Thank you guys for everything you've done down there to support this process. You know, I obviously we're going to get a little bit better at it as we move along. It's great to be able to see exactly how we've essentially constructed the facility as well. I mean, that's the first time we've actually had somebody provide a reasonable representation of how everything is laid out on site. And I think that's one aspect of the project that we've never really talked about much, and that is how well laid out and how complete our facility is at Ranchito. I'm sure you guys have and I'm looking at Ian and Andrew, both have worked in many types of facilities over the years, and I'd be interested, candidly, in hearing your comments on the quality of the facility you're working out of now.
Well, I got to be careful.
Yeah.
No, it's excellent. I mean, everything we have is in the right place, and it's a very logical layout. We get the core from up top, comes in, the guys process it very efficiently, and it's smooth as silk. It is really good. Probably one of the best I've been involved in.
Well, that's
Yeah,
great to hear.
it's very good, and you know, given that along the way I've stored core in snowbanks in the Arctic at Diavik and etc. Having an air-conditioned facility with the layout and the resources and the size of the facility here, it's among the best, if not the best, I've had the pleasure to work in.
Yeah, just like to add the exceptional curation of drill core and drill core rejects and pulps makes this a very easy project for anybody who's interested in it to come in and do a third-party review, and that might include reassaying, relogging. It is set up perfectly. It's really impressive.
That's good to know. So the next question is it a possibility that the Santo Tomas would be sold before you are even completely done with phase 2 drilling? Personally, I wouldn't expect that. I think realistically, we have to get to the point where with the completed PFS, we have more specifically substantiated the value of the project. I think there's a number of reasons that would cause that to hold true. Ian and Andrew, you guys have been through this sort of scenario before. You may have your thoughts.
It's certainly possible there could be a prior transaction, but I think the key is getting the resource updated and converting, having a block model that has most of the blocks in indicated.
Yeah, I think having been to a couple of conferences over the last 2 years, I guess, the main theme was you're a little bit early for us to take a greater interest in the project. We like it, but it all revolves around certainty of resource and some more engineering detail that has to go into a PFS. And I think once we get that done, or perhaps even getting close to the end of that process, I wouldn't be surprised to see some more interest in it from interested parties, majors, mid-tier.
Question is, when is the time to hire an investment bank? We did that of sorts in terms of our dealing with Canaccord. Where we go from here, I don't know that there's an urgency to identify our pathway otherwise. Ian, I know you have thoughts on this as well.
Yep. I think, an M&A bank, not just yet, but obviously we'll continue to address that question periodically internally and monitor the M&A environment that we're in. We do think it is coming. There are indications it has started, but as referenced by Craig earlier, there's been the odd hiccup in the world in 2026. So
Yeah, a couple of major ones. So when is the PFS expected to be completed? Ian, I'm going to leave that one with you.
Yeah, end of Q2 next year. We can't bring it much forward from there because of the environment baseline timetable.
And I think once again we're out of questions. One question about the drilling and whether there's an anticipated or concerns about unexpected events such as weather, political, or local safety concerns that could meaningfully, and I think that's the operative word here, meaningfully delay the drilling progress.
I don't think so. The weather here can be unpredictable, especially in the monsoon, but we've gone through how many seasons of drilling up there now? 4 years. So we can manage that. We have enough equipment on site to maintain access. In terms of other activities, I don't see any issues here at all. Weather's could be the main holdup, and it really holds us up. So fully expect to get the drilling done on time.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Good.
So there we are. In summary, guys, just back to what I was saying earlier, this was our first run at a live presentation from site. I think you guys did a great job first time around. And I think other than the fact that we've got to figure out how to better utilize the camera setup, And how best as well to allow Miguel to who's a very talented young man to give us a more certain and consistent view from site. When we figure those things out, then we can carry on next time, which I would hope we can do every 2 months or so. So that gives you enough time to get technologically upgraded, we'll say.
Over to the gentleman here. And now you know what the standard is. So Oscar is our tech guy, and he will. So you have a challenge, Oscar. Are you up for it? Very good. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And yes, thanks for indulging our early stage technology efforts, but it's really appreciate everyone who's attended and followed along with us today.
Yeah, thank you all for your time and your continued interest. And while these are one-time scenarios, please don't be hesitant to address any other questions you may have directly to our inbox at Oroco. We're fully willing to address any and all questions at all times. So if by chance you were missed today, there may have been a question or two that we skipped over. Please feel free to advance that query to the company, and we'll ensure that you get a prompt response. But otherwise, listen, thanks so much to all you guys down in Choice. Great to see you all today on camera. You all look wonderful. It's nice to know that we've got a true bald bunch in this company that that hasn't quite affected the rest of the team yet. But believe me, guys, it's coming.
All right. Thanks,
all right,
everybody.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.